Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Yassir ALHAMDANY. I am a survey and technical engineer. I'm going to start a master degree in engineering surveying with geographical information sciences in the University of Nottingham. So my controversy topic about using the laser scanning technology. So my title is Laser Scanning of Buildings, an Effective Replacement for Traditional Engineering Surveying Methods. First of all, I need to show you an image that illustrates the shape and the form of laser scanning device. This is the device, and this is the tripod that held the device. And this person could be a surveyor which is use this device. And they call this type Photon 120 LS. They use it in field. So my outline started with a brief introduction about my controversy topic. Then I will talk about my discussion section, which is I'll cover three aspects: reliability of data. Firstly, the reliability of data provided by laser scanning technology. Secondly, cost of laser scanning. And then I'll talk about use of laser scanning in specific sites. Finally, I will cover the conclusion. So I'm going to argue with using of laser scanning technology instead of engineering surveying methods, traditional engineering surveying methods. Engineering surveying methods is represented as using different type of surveying devices and equipment to make measurements and to collect the required data and to provide essential procedures for initial construction projects. However, laser scanning technology are capable to cover all these areas, but in short time and accurate data. The first time that laser scanning technology is used in 1990 in construction industry. So my first aspect is the reliability of data provided by these techniques. Many studies argued that laser scanning technology provide an accurate and efficient data, but other studies argued against this idea. They said that the traditional engineering surveying systems techniques like aerial image and differential GPS still deliver an accurate type of data. However, the rebuttal for that, laser scanning are capable to provide an accurate data with 3D dimensional descriptive data for large and small areas. So my position, I will go with laser scanning technology as promising techniques to provide reliable data. Secondly, cost of laser scanning technology. There are many types, there are many studies conducted recently which is discussed the new manufacturing about manufacturing for low-cost laser scanning equipment which is used in construction industry. However, according to Randall 2013, he argued that laser scanning is a cost-prohibitive technology in terms of equipment cost, mobilization cost, and processing time cost. While nowadays they discovered a new type of laser scanning technology which is called terrestrial laser scanning. This type of techniques is quite cheap, and the running cost, the important thing is the running cost for laser scanning technology is lower than the hidden cost for traditional engineering techniques. So my position is again with the use of laser scanning technology, because there are many types of low-cost laser scanning devices, and the running cost for laser scanning is lower than traditional engineering surveying techniques. These two images illustrate the mobilization of two devices. This is smart station and this is laser scanning devices. Those two devices reasonably mobilized at the same price. Also, laser scanning is used in some specific sites, like in archaeological sites. Also, they used in natural disaster sites. And they used the engineers used laser scanning devices also in normal conditions as a building deformation monitoring. So there are many studies argued that laser scanning is an efficient and accurate technique to use with archaeological and ancient buildings. But another side, some studies argued that if we use laser scanning technology and combining it with traditional engineering surveying methods, we got a good result. Also, there are many types of conventional surveying techniques that cover the disaster places and suspected hazards by three simulation scenes, which has helped the engineers to deal with these hazards. In contrast, laser scanning is already exists to use it in archaeological and damage with archaeological buildings and damaged buildings. So my conclusion is it's clearly seen that laser scanning technology as a reliable technology because they provide an accurate type of data. Also, there are many types of low-cost laser scanning equipment which is manufactured in this recent times, and we can use it as a management system, and we can reduce the hidden cost of the construction industries. Also, laser scanning is already exist and it's already applied in some sites, but maybe it can be extend the using of laser scanning techniques for different sites. So laser scanning technology is an outstanding alternative techniques for engineering surveying techniques. Instead, we can use it instead of engineering surveying techniques. So this is my references that I use it, and thank you very much for your listening.
Okay, you can take a seat now. Okay, that's very interesting. Is this a new subject, or how has it developed recently, this subject?
To be honest, it's a new subject in my as an overall in the world, but not a new subject in my discipline in engineering surveying, because there are many studies that try to apply this technique, the use of these techniques in recent time, and they try to extend it more than the use of it now.
Right.
So,
because you mentioned there is a new method or an improvement in this technology, and that kind of changes the arguments, doesn't it, a little bit? You mentioned that it's now not as costly as it used to be, right? So apparently there are improvements in this technology.
In terms of cost, some studies argued against these techniques, because if we use these techniques in sites, they reduce the use of workers or some specialists, engineers, and but if we concentrate about the result of use these techniques, it's better than using the traditional surveying methods, but they reduced the number of the workers and number of specialists, something like or similar to the use of robotics in manufacturing of the cars or materials. So they reduce the number of workers in this field.
Okay, so could you explain a little bit how it works again, this new method, as opposed to the traditional method? Like what is different?
So, for example, if you heard about engineering surveying, engineering surveying is used many types of calculations and devices to find to make measurements or to find the area of or volume, for example, of this building.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do this process with the traditional engineering surveying devices like GPS and something called total stations, we need sometimes, for example, 3 devices, 3 engineering surveyors, and maybe 10 workers. But if we, instead of that, if we use one of the laser scanning devices, like the first one I show you, it's called Photon, I showed you the picture of it, they can do the job with 1 device and 1 specialist.
But how does it do it? Does it project?
They use the laser beams to transfer the shape or the design of the corners of the buildings, and they return it back to the device. Within these techniques, they make a calculation, very sophisticated calculations, which is provide the dimensions of the building. After they provide the dimension, they can provide easily the area and volume of the building.
I see.
Yeah.
And you said that some of your sources that you used, they were afraid that this is not a very accurate method. You had some sources saying that that's not really a very accurate way of measuring, or?
No, I think it's very sophisticated.
Everybody would agree that it's
no. Sometimes, to some extent, sometimes they some studies, but they do it in the past, like in 2004 or 2005. They argued that if we use, because there are many types of these techniques.
I see.
One of them they called as a carry-on devices, which is they put it on the tripods, or they put it in the car. As a mobility laser scanning, or maybe used in airplane. So this type, when they used in airplane, which is called airborne laser scanning, some studies argued that this techniques can't make a difference between the buildings and the highest structures near to the or close to the building, like trees or communication towers. So, but there are many studies nowadays argue against this idea or demolish this idea, because there are many studies now, or many manufacturers support use of this laser, and they make it perfect.
So the general agreement is that it is a technology which is very efficient and it works well, right?
Yeah.
I was just wondering what the counter argument to that would be, but you explained that it's mostly, if they find fault with this technology, it's usually the less efficient types of it, right?
Yeah, sorry, if you can clarify it.
When certain scholars disagree, right, or engineers with this new technology, they usually disagree with the less efficient types of it, not the best and newest.
And also, most of them, to be honest, they argued against the cost of it.
I see.
Because they considered the initial cost for this device is high. But if we compare the running cost with the running cost for the engineering surveying methods, it's better, because if you buy one device by £30,000, but they do the work with a low amount of errors, better than you buy 3 devices by £10,000, but make a serious problems in the construction section.
I was just trying to find a counter argument, you see.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a general agreement that this is a very good technology, right?
Yeah, but also there are some studies argued that maybe this study reduce the important role of specialists for the engineers or the workers. So for that reason, sometimes they argue against it.
I see.
But if we compare it, the accuracy, because the construction section or construction industry is not something easy. It's related to the life of the people. If we build a building, if we establish a building, but we didn't aware about how it's dangerous if we didn't make it perfectly, they affect the life of the people. And the second point, they affect the investment, because some errors happen in the buildings when they constructed it, make something called deformation in the building. So this is affect the whole structure of the building, and they affect also as a result the investment in this sector.
So in all aspects, this new technology is better than the traditional types of surveying methods.
Yeah, in my opinion, and it depends on the research I do it. It's nowadays, recently, it's better than the traditional engineering surveying.
And would there be engineers who would actually favor the traditional type of surveying technology, or?
Yeah, there is still some people which prefer in favor of using traditional methods, because it's helped them to still keep working in this field. Yeah, so there is some study, some engineers that prefer in favor of using this technology, the traditional technology. Sorry.
So it's almost like the issue is the machine replacing the human being.
Yeah, not 100%, but to some extent, yes. It's reduced just the number of the techniques, not all of them, because we can use this device without good interaction between the engineering surveyor and the device, because you need to prepare the device before they work. You need to provide to enter some information on the device before they work.
Can you clarify just a little bit? You were talking about the suspected hazards, right?
Yeah.
What are those? Just very briefly.
Yeah. Sometimes when you, for example, when you know there is a river that they fall in winter.
Okay.
So sometimes it depends on this river when they fall, how much the areas that they affected by this fault. And sometimes they used something called Geographical Information Sciences Systems program that will make a 3D simulation scenes for the hazards will happen. Also, they considered what happened with the earthquakes, because if there is an interaction without the environmental person and the surveyor person, so they know there is an earthquake maybe happen. So when this happened, how long areas that affected by this? So they called an early intervention. They provided an early intervention program to support the area that under the range of this hazard.
And that's only the new technology that can do that, right?
No, this types of suspected hazard happened by we can do it not by laser scanning, by traditional engineering, but the recent traditional surveying methods, which is called Geographical Information Systems.
So in that sense, they might be superior then.
Yeah, in this point, yes. Yes, the one of the traditional methods, which is GIS, is a short word for the Geographical Information Sciences. They call it GIS. So they are superior in this aspect.
So there's still room for improvement.
Yeah. For laser scanning.
For laser
yes.
scanning.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting.
I suppose on the cost question, that in certain countries, I'm thinking of developing countries, the initial costs that you mentioned would be too large and labour costs are very low. So maybe they would still prefer the traditional labour-intensive methods.
Yeah, to some extent I agree with you, but in developing countries, because if you can compare the prices of two techniques, the traditional techniques, it seems to be also high, because the minimum range for the traditional engineering, traditional surveying devices is between £5,000 to £10,000. But the workers who work, for example, survey engineers who work in this field, they also like take salaries, take a high salaries, because they are less number of people who are capable to use the traditional techniques, not the normal workers.
Mm-hmm.
The normal workers, we call in my field, we call the staff, just held like a tall rubber or a reflector. So the cost for those persons is cheap, but the cost for the engineers is a little bit high. But the problem when you buy the device, when you buy traditional engineering surveying devices and you use it in construction project, some hidden cost happened, because maybe the staff, they held the reflector in wrong way, or they make errors. This is errors, we call it cumulative errors. If they increase, they become like a serious problem. But if we put all the money from the first time to buy this technology, which is called initial devices, we can reduce the running cost, or the running cost for this device becomes non-existent, because you need just one person who's a specialist to work with a few number of devices.
Right.
So
thank you.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So perhaps you won't have a job when you go back.
Yeah. For me, because I will study this techniques in my future study in my master. So maybe
you'll be the one person.
No, not the one person, but I have an opportunity to learn this technology.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.